E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Monday and Messages of Inspirational Story. Jim, last week we had a great week on, understanding mental illness, right? Mm-hmm. And this week is change your mental vision.
Yes. This particular week has been a week of shows that Donna and I have been wanting to do for quite some time. And now we're able to fit it into our schedule because you folks out there, this is going to be a great show. And I'll tell you why it's going to be a great show. Because you're here and you also are going to know someone, young or old, who could say, hey, you need to listen to this. We're going to be sharing some truths with you. And, before I get started, though, you know me, National Day. Yeah, what's popular today on the menu? Well, let's see. How about this one here, Donna? National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day. Oh, my goodness.
That should be every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. Do something helpful for your neighbor.
Yeah. Anytime, anywhere you can do it, do it.
Yeah, I was out in the alley maybe a month ago, spraying the weeds that were coming up from, that time of year. And I got done with my weeds on my alley and I went over to my neighbor who's alone and she's a widow. And so I just, her yard man comes and all he does is cut them down. So, they're going to grow back up, right? So I went over there and I just sprayed them all.
Wow. You want to hang out in the alley around my house and spray some weed?
On all 490 acres, Jim.
Yeah, right. I tell you, hey, I had to ask, And also today, oh my goodness, this is something that's all near and dear to our heart. It's National Barbecue Day.
Yum.
Get me drooling like a hound dog here in a minute.
There is nothing better than anything grilled.
Oh,
I just love it. Last night, my bonus daughter, my stepdaughter, we had her over for her birthday, and I did marinated chicken in just Italian seasoning, super simple. Poke holes in it because it's kind of dense, and just poke lots of holes in it. And I set it in the refrigerator and let it marinate for probably 3 hours. And then, I did my marinated asparagus. You had that in tomball. And then we had some peaches and bundt cake, and it was amazing dinner.
When we were in Tomball, we grilled out salmon on the grill. And you said it was asparagus. I thought it was just green beans with a bunch of little insects in it. I didn't know. But anyway, Donna, share with them how you marinated those asparagus tips.
Oh, it's just really simple. You just use olive oil or avocado oil, and you put it in a bag or in a pan or whatever, and glump it on there. And then I either use kosher salt or sea salt and let it sit for a minimum of 45 minutes. Marinate it, kind of turn it, and then you grill it.
And it's I'm telling folks, it was delicious. It was delicious. One thing about us in Tomball, we ate very, very well.
Right.
And we learned, something we already knew, and that is don't go grocery shopping when you're starving. Because
we had 5 people going shopping. So we all walk in and we're all huddled around the cart. And then all of a sudden we just went poosh, like ants with water on them, It was funny.
Yeah. It
It
really
was
was.
funny. But look at it this way, Jim. When you went home, Evelyn didn't have to cook for a day or two.
Yeah. In fact, I had some salmon earlier today, as a matter of fact, I did.
Nice.
And it was scrumdiddlyicious.
Hmm.
Oh, big, thick. Oh, I better not think about that. I might start drooling again. But, at today's show, there's one other thing I want to mention here about the national holidays and all. And that is, where's that? Oh, drawing day. Drawing is so important. Michaela does a great job in working with her kids, teaching them to draw, teaching them to learn how to develop, their skills, because a kid cannot draw a bad picture
No.
when they're drawing the house or mom and dad or something.
Well, and I think we can draw at any age
Oh yeah.
because we are so in our heads that it has to be in the line and it has to be perfect. And, life isn't perfect. So, case in point, Gaia did not draw much when she was younger. But as she's gotten older, she has taken to painting and does amazingly well. And her background that was on the show, that's a painting she did.
Is it really?
Yes.
I did not know that. Mercy.
Yes. She is talented.
Well, you give me a brownie from the old days, and look what I can do at my background. I can take a picture.
Oh, goodness.
That was amazing because, I saw the background there and I just thought it was just, a picture that she got or something. I didn't know that was her painting.
Yeah.
But it's very expressionful. And that it brings out the individuality too.
Right.
And also to another interesting thing that people have, everybody's got this ability to some degree, and that's a biography. That today is National Biographies Day. Biographers Day. I'll get that right in a minute. Usually I mispronounce a word correctly 2 or 3 times before I get it right, but that's okay. And when you goof up like I do, just laugh about it because it's funny. But yeah, because everybody, I think it's a good thing for people to not necessarily keep a diary, but keep a record of key events that happen. Evelyn's got a notebook, and on each page at the top, it's got the year, like 1981, and she'll make a record of key things that happen in that year. And
that is so smart because we forget, right? What we're always going to remember, we forget.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Or you forget the time when something happened. Because I was looking at something the other day and I said, that happened in 78? I thought that happened around the early 80s. No, it happened in 78 because that's when it's recorded, 1978. So
wow.
It's amazing how your memory can, get faded. And that's how that's how, Grandpa, when he first started walking to school, it was 2 miles, and you get older, it's time to get to be 20 or 25. It's 20
uphill
miles.
Both ways and 20 feet of snow.
That's
all
right.
Year round. All year round.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And don't you forget it. That's how good you got it, and you don't know it.
Right.
But when it comes to our mental vision, Donna, we get caught up in stories in our mind that we think is truths or gospels, and we find ways to defend those stories, and
we guard them.
Yeah.
Not only do we defend them, Jim, but we guard them. We guard them ferociously.
Oh yeah.
Wow, this is this, and this is this, and sometimes in my life, I have looked back now and I see where I've guarded things, and with a hammer fist.
Oh yeah.
Like, why the hell am I doing that?
Yeah, because
what is it, right?
Yeah, let it go. Let it go.
Absolutely.
It's and one of the most common things, Donna, we've been on a couple of international summits talking to people, and we're on this one international summit. We're advisors on the board of it. It has over 100,000 young folks all the way around the world.
Okay. Yes.
And to give you an example, they don't know any difference. They don't have that mental vision. They'll say, well, I'm held back and I can't do anything. I can't fulfill my dream in life because I don't have any money.
Right.
How many rags to riches stories have we read or heard about? And everybody, Donna, you said this before we went live, everybody loves the underdog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm. And, having someone says, well, uh, I've never had any money. I don't have the money to do this or that. That is a story that you will defend. Believe it or not, you will, because that justifies and enables you to reason in your mind why you haven't, come out of your comfort zone. Because that's what we're
So
talking about.
exactly. And if we change the paradigm of how we
Mhm.
speak to ourselves, it
Mm.
opens up for the universe to hear us. So
Yeah.
instead of saying, well, I just don't have the money,
Mhm.
a better way to say it is, today I'm not able to do that because I need to pay my bills. But I know in the near distant future, that's
Mhm.
going to be available to me.
Yes. And one thing I've got to give a shout out to Mr. Bill Heinrich. We talk about Bill a lot. He's a good friend of ours in the 7 Levels of Truth.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill has got a lot of wisdom in this book. And that is a perfect picture of Mr. Bill, his face and all. That is a genuine smile
I
from
love
his
Bill.
heart. Oh, yeah. And Bill is so eager to help.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. And I just got to give him a shout out here. And let me do something here. Uh,
Did you find it?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill's website is truelifepurposenow.com. If you contact Bill there and just, schedule a 30-minute
Yes.
complimentary talk with him, I'll guarantee you he's going to rip the cobwebs away from your eyes.
You will walk away with a new perspective on yourself.
Amen. I'll tell you
That's
what
the
happened
best
to
way to
me.
put it.
I'll tell you what happened to me. I mean, I knew Bill. We were down at Speaking Empire, and it was break time, and we went or getting ready for lunch, and we all walked into the lunchroom there, and Bill was sitting at the table there, and I went over and got a cup of coffee, and I just came over and sat down across from him, just as friendly, hello, how you doing? Just talk with him a little bit, and Bill started asking me some questions, and that's what he
Got his,
does.
got his eagle eyes going, didn't he?
Yeah, because Bill looks, it's not as bad as sitting across from a detective, but he zeroed in on you.
Yeah,
He has that unique.
oh my gosh. So if I was to describe Bill's eyes when he's really concentrating on something,
Yeah.
his eyes, and when I say eagle eyes, I mean that because we see pictures of eagles and how intense their eyes are, and that's
Yeah.
Bill.
Because the first time I saw Bill, he walked into this big auditorium there. We were all down in Orlando, and he was on a mission. He was concentrating on somebody. He came in that room and he looked like a police detective. I'm not making this up because he's
Knowing
got
Bill,
this
I know that, right?
short hair. He had on a blue shirt and a tie. And I'm like, okay, where is that varmint at?
And he
And
was
I didn't
reading the
know him.
room, trust me.
Yeah, I didn't know him. And our eyes met, and he looked at me, and I looked at him. We didn't, we was kind of like, I don't even think we nodded. He went to my right, and I went to his right, and we just passed. And that was the first time I ever saw him. And I thought, this guy's on a mission. And Bill is on a mission, but it's a mission of love and kindness. He's not he'll ask you some tough questions, yes, but you know what? That's good. Because in the end, would you rather someone make you feel good or ask you questions that will help pull you out of your comfort zone and rise to a newer height? And when I sat down across from him, he started asking me questions. And I started answering, and he was answering me he asked me another question, I answered it, and he started sharing some information with me. And I said, you know what, Bill, you're right. I never thought about it like that. And that encouraged me to create a course called Your Future Is Now.
Mm-hmm. Which is now
From
your
that
radio show.
5-minute conversation. This thing, you're going to get 30 minutes complimentary. And also here, front and center, right in front of the camera, there's a young lady by the name of Donna and Donna is an expert in helping people unblock their energy. See, when you use money as an excuse that's holding you back, keeping you from going and growing and living the life that you're entitled to. You really are. Get out of this world of survival. Step into the light of love and abundance and live in a world of thrival.
Right.
I mean, really. And Donna's real good about helping people find out what's blocking their energy. She went through her own episode in life dealing with MS, 3 brain surgeries, couldn't complete a complete sentence for about 2 years. She knows what really blocked her energy, and she says, hey, I need to take this, to others because a lot of people are just like you. I mean, They may not have had brain surgery or anything, but the point of it is they got their energy blocked.
Exactly.
They're spinning their wheels inside. Yep. And we need to open up that mental vision. And Donna, you too will be more than happy to give anyone a 30-minute complimentary.
And if I may say this, the one thing that I love when I help people and they take this and they run with it, when they change their life, right? By understanding the blocked negativity, you know what else changes? Their relationships around them, their children.
Oh, yeah.
Because our children are sponges.
Mm.
And I'll be honest, folks, in all transparency and honesty, I wish, I had known what I know now about energy when my children were younger.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. But here we are, coulda, woulda, shoulda. So there's nothing I couldn't do about that. But what I am saying is you have the opportunity to not only change yourself and your relationship, but the paradigms for your children as they come up and grow in this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're all giving off energy. We are energy. And if we're negative on the inside, guess what's coming out on the outside?
Right.
Negative vibes.
And you think you can hide it, but you can't. Your energy shows up before you do.
How many people have you seen walk in a room, you take one look at me, you go like, well, I think I'll look over here, and maybe they won't notice I'm here.
Yeah. I got to go to the restroom now, so I'll be back in about an hour.
Yeah. And because that negative energy, it just vibrates from you. And that it will also kill great opportunities in your life because nobody wants to be around someone that is vibrating in a negative world.
Right.
It just, think about it. You want to be around negative people or positive people?
Right.
Your choice. And you know exactly if you feel stressed and you feel all wound up and, you're trying to, get somebody to convince them to your way of thinking and all that. The best advice I can give you is turn off your radio station of WIIFM, as Bill puts it in his book, What's in It for Me?
Right.
Get a bigger cause. And then find people who think about that cause.
Right. And the other thing is understanding that if somebody doesn't believe in something the way you do, that's okay.
Yeah.
Number one, that's okay. So guess what? You cannot change their mind. You cannot hammer into them to change their mind. So you know what? Say, God, I love it. I really appreciate you. And then you move on. Because if you keep trying, well, if they would only believe and see it the way I see it, guess what? You cannot make somebody change their way of thinking. They have to change their way of thinking. And so when you're doing that, you are creating a negative energy.
Yes. Yes.
It's really
Yes.
that simple.
Yeah. Because just like you don't want anyone to try to sell you something that it's not in your wheelhouse or your compassion. In
Right?
fact, today I was talking to a friend of mine who used to play pro baseball, and he's got this project going on. He helps youth not only to how to catch a ball, throw a ball, hit a ball, but how to live their life in abundance outside of baseball. Baseball is just what they do for fun. And if they're good at it and go to the pros, they get paid for it, right? But outside of that, when the game is over and the game of life starts, and he says, I'd like to find somebody to work with. And I said, well, the best advice I can give you is get on the internet and do some research. Find some companies that support that other entities, nonprofits or whatever, that are interested in the same cause that you're in, which is youth.
Boys and girls clubs.
Yes, he mentioned that.
YMCA.
He
There are
mentioned
so
that.
many.
Oh, yeah. And I said, don't pick somebody that's interested in saving the rainforest
Right.
because they're already committed to that because that's part of their cause.
That's their wheelhouse.
Yes, yes. So save time, save energy. But I want to go a little bit deeper. I'd like to tell a true life story by the man. His name was Samuel B. Fuller. He was born in 1905 and he died in 1988. And you would say that he entered this world with a few less advantages than most people.
Absolutely.
Samuel B. Fuller, ladies and gentlemen, he grew up very, very poor. He grew up in poverty in Louisiana. His family was a sharecropper. He went to work at the age of 5, which was common for those folks back then, in the fields, helping his parents, family. And by the age of 9, he was actually running a team of mules plowing the plantation or wherever they were working at. And that was his lot in life. But he was blessed because he had a mother.
An extraordinary mother.
Oh, yeah, a godly woman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she just told him straight up. She says, he was one of 7 kids. And as I said, he started work at 5 and he was driving mules by the time he was 9, which was very, common and a poverty for their family and for their friends and neighbors who were also sharecroppers.
Everybody worked.
Yeah, that was the way the world turned.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all poor, very, very, very poor. But he was different because his mother, she used to talk to him. Now, remember his mother only knew poverty. She never knew anything about abundance, but she had eyes and she was tuned in to the universe.
Yep.
And she says, we shouldn't be poor, SB. She was calling him SB. And she says, don't you ever let me hear you say it's God's will for us to be poor. We are poor not because God, listen to this. She says, we are poor because your father has never developed a desire to become rich. No one in our family has ever developed a desire to be anything else.
Right.
Imagine, Donna, how that impressed a young man like that, a young mind.
Mm-hmm.
That was positive energy she was giving off.
Yep.
Because even though her existence was poverty, she's born in poverty, lived in poverty, married into poverty, and died. Well, she didn't die in poverty, thanks to SB, but that was her life. But she had a special wisdom. Mothers have a unique ability of having special wisdom that they can pass on to their children. That us guys.
We have an insight and for the lack of right word, I call it the inner portal.
Inner portal, okay.
Because
they're plugged in.
that we can see and feel things with our children that nobody else can, because our voice is the first voice that they recognize, mm-hmm. right? Because we carry them. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I can see absolutely where she had the chance and the opportunity with him, and probably because he was the one that was most open to listening.
Yeah.
Let's be real about it.
Because most kids, if they're born in poverty like that, we shouldn't be poor, we should be rich. And the reason why, because your father and no one in our families desired to be rich. Most of them would say, well, what am I going to do, with a handful
how am I going to do that?
Yeah, exactly. But it kindled a thought in his mind, and it started building up a desire in his heart that he wanted to enjoy the abundance that he saw other people enjoying. And so his philosophy was he was going to sell something and start making money. Well, he became a soap salesman, and he was up in the Chicago area, and he had sold soap for about 12 years. He had saved up about $25,000, but most importantly,
that was a boatload of money back then.
Yes, ma'am. Most importantly, what he was extremely rich in was his integrity, his word, his honor, and he was a black gentleman. Think about that back in when he was born in 1905. So you might say a poor black kid growing up in poverty with sharecropper. I mean, how is he going to get ahead? But he didn't let that handicap him. That was a story that he dismissed, thanks to his brilliant mother, his godly mother.
What he didn't do is he didn't let it handicap him.
Amen.
Motivate him.
Amen. It sure did. He did not embrace that story.
Right.
I'm poor, I'm black, I come from a very impoverished family. We're sharecroppers. We barely have enough, money to even put food on the table, and our clothes are just very scarce. He didn't buy into that story. That did not become gospel to him. And that's what a lot of people do. Whatever hardships they have, I don't have a good education. I never had a father. I never had this, never had that. So what? You are a mind with a body.
And if you do your research, there are hundreds and thousands of people who did not have an education, who became wealthy, who lived their dream, who walked in their truth.
Henry Ford's a good example of that, because a lot of people were jealous of Ford. He was referred to as a country bumpkin, which is an insult. And how can that country bumpkin have Ford Motor Company and do all these things? He don't have any education. But see, he knew where he lacked. So what he surrounded himself with people that had the specialized experience, people that knew metallurgy, the strengths of metal, people that knew how to engineer and put things together. And he would pick their brains in a mastermind, just like it was his own brain. And you can do the same thing too. Surround yourself with people who know the things that you do not know. And to go on with SB's story here, he had saved up $25,000, but most importantly, he had built up a strong reputation of respect and honor, because he was somebody. He made up his mind he was going to be somebody, and he was somebody. And what really blows my mind, his story is so unique. I got to continue on here. For 12 years, he sold soap from door to door. He called on businesses and things of that nature, saved up $25,000. Then he found out the very company that supplied him with the soap that he sold was going to be sold at auction for $150,000. So he worked the deal where he would put down $25,000 earnest money, every penny he had. And they only give him 10 days to raise $125,000.
And that in today's terms is millions and millions.
That's up there. And so he written into the contract that if he did not meet that 10th day limit of $125,000, he would lose his earnest money of $25,000.
Right.
And so he decided, okay, I've got a great reputation. I've worked hard for 12 years. People know I'm the real deal. I'm going out now and I'm going to call on friends. And he called on friends and he called on business people and he kept borrowing money and, telling people about his venture. And they were believing in him because of his integrity, his work ethic, and
It
all
was
that.
top notch.
Yes, yes. And on the eve of the 10th day, listen to this, folks. This just really touches my heart every time I read it. He had raised $115,000. He was $10,000 short. And he said in an interview with Napoleon Hill, he says, I had exhausted every source of credit I knew. It was late at night. In the darkness of his room, he knelt down and he prayed for guidance. And he asked God, it says, to lead me to a person that would let me have the $10,000. And then he said to himself, I'm going to drive down 61st Street until I see the first light in a business establishment. And he says, I asked God to make that light a sign of his answer. Now get this. It was 11 o'clock at night on a Friday night as he's driving down Chicago's 61st Street. And after many, many blocks with nothing on, no lights in any business establishment, he sees a light in a contractor's office. He walked in and there was a man sitting behind a desk that was very tired from working late at night. And Fuller just knew the man slightly. And he realized he had to be bold. He said, would you like to make $1,000? And the man was taken back and he said, well, yes, of course. He says, then make me out a check for $10,000. And when I bring it back, I'll bring back another $1,000 profit for you. And then Fuller recalls sharing with the man who else had invested with him, what the mission was, buying out the company and all that. And before he left that contractor's office at night, after 11 o'clock on a Friday night, he had the $10,000 in his pocket.
I love this story.
And that was only the beginning. He went on to own several other manufacturing firms, but it all started with when his mother said, we shouldn't be poor.
Well, and I think we need to say the other thing he was most noted for.
Okay.
Fuller Brush Company.
Now, he was not associated with him.
I thought he was.
No. The gentleman who owned Fuller Brush Company was Alfred C. Fuller. And but yeah, many people mistake him because he was also involved in hosiery and other things. And he was involved with the brush company too. As an investor, he was involved. He had his hands in a lot of businesses.
Okay, maybe that's where I got it twisted.
Yeah,
that he was involved
absolutely.
As an investor.
Yeah,
okay.
He sure was because he invested in a lot, and obviously, he was very benevolent with his funds too, which is very, very important. He knew that he could not outgive the master giver of life. That's important in life. Because a lot of people desire to be rich, but they only want to be rich for themselves.
Yes.
And if you want to be filthy rich, as the old saying goes, learn how to invest in others and how to give people with that money a hand up and not a handout.
Right.
If you give them a handout, you have enslaved that person. You have robbed that person of their integrity and their dignity to be able to take what you give them and be able to rise up.
And you've weakened them.
Yes. Think of it like planting a seed in the ground. The seed is going to sprout. It's going to become up and be its own plant. That's a good way of looking at it. And I love S.B. Fuller's story. I really do. It's just so inspiring.
Well, it is. It's very inspiring because literally you talk about a rags to riches story, Jim.
Oh, that's a rag to riches, not rags. Didn't have that much.
And the thing is that, in my own research on him, the one thing that, I related on many, many levels, but the one thing that really resonated with me about him is his integrity.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked about it on the show. You know, not everybody's integrity is going to match mine, and that's fine.
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
But I need integrity to match my integrity in order to be able to work. If Jim and I did not have the same integrity, there would be no partnership.
No, not at all.
Zero.
Not at all. We would
And that
just
goes
be,
for him to me and me to him.
yeah. And we didn't, we didn't draw straws and wind up with each other or anything like that. We were just kind of like, we both backed into the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship was nurtured by a higher source.
Right.
It all started with our friend Marty Haggard.
Right.
And I had him on my radio show, and I called up Donna. This is before I had a TV show. I said, "Hey, Donna, guess who I got on my radio show?" "Who?" I says, "Marty Haggard." And she says, "Oh, my goodness." She told me about how much she loved Merle Haggard and music and all that. Told me a lot about. I could feel the positive energy coming from Donna over the phone. So I thought, I need to invite her to be a co-host on my show, because the positive energy she brings is going to vibrate out over the airways. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, she got so excited there and so vibrating, she broke down and cried a couple of times.
Well, that was Marty's fault, dadgummit.
Those were tears of joy, weren't they?
Yes, he's such a sweetheart. But yeah, he's made me cry a couple times on radio and on live TV, on live TV. So
Yeah.
that's how you know you're good friends.
Yeah, because Marty looked at her and says, "Donna, are you crying?" I know we'll forget that.
That was awesome.
And then after we were over, the show was over and all, Donna's such a shy lady. I mean, sometimes come on, Donna, come on. We were off about 20, 22 seconds or so, and she says, "Marty, would you like to be on my radio show?" "Well, sure, Donna, I'd be glad to be on your radio show."
Right.
And so since I invited her to be a co-host on my radio show, she invited me to be a co-host on her radio show. And from there, that was the beginning of us co-hosting along, as I like to say.
Right.
And then when we were doing we weren't doing a TV show, we were doing a show on Zoom and Facebook Live during the pandemic, the early stages of it, because all we wanted to do was just bring on speakers and share positive messages, positive energy with all the doom and gloom. And because no one was going anywhere.
Right.
We're either going to be doing that or working crossword puzzles, right? And within 24 hours, we had like 60-something speakers signed up. And it just migrated on from there. And then our good friend Tamara Hunter, she says, "Hey, you guys got a great show. You need to take us to E360 TV." And so that's where Donna and I, again, because it was on Donna's radio show. When I was a co-host there, that's when I saw that we got chemistry. We are complementing each other.
Right.
And I invited her to come on the TV show, and through a process of how the energy was leading us to start theme weeks and how to be able to go and grow and be a blessing to others with important message, not the messenger, but the message.
Right. We're just a platform.
Yeah. That's how it all happened. And I'm glad it came from a higher source, because just between me and you, ladies and gentlemen, don't tell anybody I said this, but I'm not smart enough to figure that out by myself. That's not funny. But that's the way it happened.
Right.
And when you're looking for ways to bless people, that's what happens in life. And I'm going to say this. I don't think I've said it before on TV, but I'm going to say this. Last week, Donna and we got blown away by Marty Haggard. I mean, we really did, because what he gave us was 100% unexpected. It was a gift of love. And we were there in Tomball. We live streamed this show. Aaron was with us, and he videotaped it. And Donna, what did Aaron and his wife Tessa, what did Marty and his wife Tessa tell us?
They said that it was their gift to us, and they wanted us to go and bless others.
And they would not accept $1 from us. And we got a 2-hour show, Marty Haggard performance, that we can promote and, work with other companies. And we're in the process of doing that. But that was totally unexpected. And, but knowing Donna and me, we'll have to find some way to return that good favor. And I think we got some good ideas there. We'll keep that to ourselves right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because we're still arm wrestling. I'm just kidding.
Right. We can't let everything out of school.
That's right. We got to have some secrets keep you coming back, right? But that was a surprise to us. We did not expect it. And that's because everybody was coming from the heart about giving. And Zig Ziglar said it best, that you can get anything out of life that you want as long as you help other good people get what they want.
Right.
And I believe Zig may have translated that from the verse in the Proverbs. I think it's around chapter 11:25 or something like that, where it says, "The generous person, by watering others, will be watered themselves." There's a prerequisite in there. You got to do something first, kind of like a farmer. If you want corn, you better plant corn.
Right.
If you don't plant any corn, you're not going to be able to reap any corn.
Right.
And it's just a wonderful thing, because once you clean up get the cobwebs out of your mind, clean up your vision, and start looking for ways of how you can use the tools that you have and be a blessing to others. Let that be the main objective. Let that be your cause in life.
Well, Jim, I'd like to add something.
Please.
When you get the negative energy, the negative crap out of your head, and then your energy can flow, because you can't, the way we work internally, you can't, like love and hate, they can't exist together. So love and hate are going to do this until one of them, whichever one you feed the most, goes forward. And then that one is the one that leads. But when we say thrive, for you to thrive, we are not always saying it's about that almighty dollar. So understand that thriving means that you are living in a space of pureness, of happiness, and that everything is in peace and harmony in what you do.
You better believe it.
So important, because my happy place is home. That is my happy place. It's my sanctuary. My backyard is my oasis, because I have the sun and I've got my plants and my little veggies, and I'm happy. That's my husband, my
4 cats.
Well,
Everybody's got their cross bear, right?
We have Bullet. Bullet makes up for another 7 cats. Trust me.
Oh,
folks.
yeah. That boy
He is a live wire.
Yeah, he didn't get robbed on his energy, did he?
God, no.
But
Or his brains.
by knowing Donna, what she's really rich in, is the things that money cannot buy.
Right.
Think about that. The love that she has and enjoys with her family and friends. Have you ever seen you can't buy that at a store, can you?
Nope.
You sure can't. Think about having a satisfied mind, knowing that you blessed others.
Right.
How important is that to you, to have that?
For me, it's everything.
Yeah.
That I can go to bed at night and I don't toss and turn. There was a day I did. I tossed this way and I turned this way, and okay, it's been an hour. When am I going to go to sleep? I'm exhausted. I don't do that anymore, because I live in such a beautiful space.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Exactly what you said, Jim. And I know you do too.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I tell the story sometimes. This happened to me a couple of times. I guess I should do it more often, to be honest with you. But you know how it is. You get ready to go to bed, and you're sitting out there, and you're reading something. You go, "Ah," and you get
Right.
up, you go down the hallway, you go to the restroom, brush your teeth, you get ready for bed, you lay down in bed, and your eyes are, the lights are on, and you're going like, well, what do I do? I mean, I'm gonna lay here and try to go to sleep, and I can't. Every single time, I just start giving thanks for what I have in my life, and give thanks for anything and everything that pops in your mind.
Mhm.
I thank the Creator for my health, obviously, the heartbeat in my veins, the breath in my lungs. I remember this one time I had a chainsaw that just about wear you out trying to crank it before you got it going. Once you got it going, you probably didn't feel like cutting too much wood because you already give out. But this one day I went out there to cut wood and thing fired up and I said, "What's wrong with you? What happened? Did you get religion or what?" And I just says, "Thank you for my chainsaw cranking up
Mhm.
today at that wear amount. Thank you. I was able to cut that wood. I didn't, without any, just it was effortlessly for me and no problems. And thank you for my cat. Thank you for my home. Thank you for my car." I just kept going on and on
Mhm.
and on. And every time I've done that, ladies and gentlemen, I never, ever, ever run out of things to be thankful for, and I never finish it.
Right.
Usually I drift off into la la land and I sleep good.
Mhm.
That's the best sleeping pill on planet Earth that I've found. And I don't
Right.
take sleeping pills.
Right.
But I mean, man, it's just, we've all been there. You lay there and you toss and you turn, you're trying to go to, and then you work yourself up into a lather. Why can't I go to sleep? I need to go to sleep. I need my rest. I need this. I need that. You
Right.
know, and that energy just builds up in you and it just robs you of really relaxing, being
Mhm.
at peace with yourself, which is important, having that internal calmness. And that's what Donna has in her house and in her life. And you
And
can too.
in internal peace,
Mhm.
you have to have that
Oh,
with yourself before you can bring peace to anyone else.
you are entitled to that. You owe that to yourself. And if anybody's telling you any different,
Don't
yes,
listen to them.
yeah, just love them and forgive them of their ignorance because that's exactly what it is. I mean, and you're not being fair to yourself either if you let them beat you up
Right.
mentally. I'm speaking of not physically, but mentally. But, you owe that to yourself. You're entitled to that. So reach out and grasp it. And
And
that's
don't
one,
let anyone try and rob you of it.
mhm, that's right. And guess what? You don't need a penny in your pocket to own that.
Nope.
That's one of the beautiful things about the wonderful gifts of life. The greatest ones we cannot buy,
Right.
and they'll never cost you a penny, like your intelligence, the heartbeat in your veins, the breath in your lungs.
Hmm.
You know, those is, be thankful for them, and be thankful that where you are. This is one thing that Bill talks about, and it's hard to embrace. It really is. Bill talks about where you are right now, no matter
Is
what's
where
going on in your life,
is
is
where
the
you're meant to be
perfect, yeah, it's the perfect place for you.
for the
You may be
moment.
here. Yeah, you may be here in this moment, but not down the road. You have a
Mm.
pathway ahead of you. And so many people let their mind remind them of what they should be looking for in their pathway, but the mind has a problem. It's limited. It
Well,
can only see the past.
but we're where we're at in the moment for a reason.
Hmm.
And that
Right?
reason is we're there to learn something,
Hmm.
right? We need to learn that so that we can go forward.
Hmm.
Is that the bird or Dixie?
That's the bird, that little rascal. I mean, we got this little cardinal, young cardinal. He keeps jumping up, pecking at the window, pecking up. I think he thinks his reflection is another bird or something. And I mean, he just keeps going on. The mic picks that up. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, my house is going to the birds. What can I say?
Right. Well, I got a cat house. You got a bird house. So we're in
Yeah,
great shape.
yeah, yeah. It's one of we're saying it all, right?
Oh, there are plenty of days I'm not sane. Trust me.
That's most days for me. It's like growing up, my mother told me, it's a good thing the good Lord gave you a sense of humor. If he didn't give you a sense of humor, you wouldn't have any sense at all. And,
Right.
and getting back to what we're talking about, don't embrace things that will not serve you.
Right.
Thinking about all the problems of the past, I wasn't able to go to school. I wasn't able to get a good education. I grew up without any type of positive parents in my life. Um, Look at people who were orphans, who were drugged from pillar to post during their childhood,
Right.
and yet they grew up and they became productive, respected, admired people. And they certainly didn't come from a rich background.
Right.
They certainly didn't, you heard the old saying, born with a silver spoon in your mouth. They didn't even have a spoon made out of pewter for their mouths.
Right.
They had nothing. Everything was given to them growing up was at the kindness and the mercy of strangers.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't embrace that and let that own them.
Right.
I said, that's in my background. That's where I came from. And like Donna says, I learned learned things along the way. And I didn't let these stories become my guide arm, my gospel, so to speak. Because a lot of people use their stories as being, this is the reason I'm like this.
Right. They let it become an anchor in their spiritual self, their heart, and their soul. And so if that anchor is so bloomin' heavy, you're never going to be able to pick up your feet and move forward.
That's right.
So think about that.
You can't.
And I know because I've been there.
Yeah. It's like the old saying, you can't swim across a lake with a cement block tied to your ankle.
Right.
So cut it loose.
Right.
Let it go.
And, we talk about this a lot. This is one of my favorite sayings of all time is give yourself forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Give yourself grace. Okay. We have this crazy thing where we can give somebody else grace, but we forget to give ourselves grace. And again, you have to give yourself grace first in order to be able to truly give somebody else true grace.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's kind of amazing because you see somebody make a mistake and, okay, they made a mistake or whatever, but you make a mistake.
Right.
What are the words that you say to yourself?
Those are the most harmful of all.
I've been guilty of that a lot during my life. Throughout my Grant, Burnett, you moron. I mean, good grief,
Or how can you be so stupid, Donna?
I thought you were going to say Jim because I use that phrase too.
And I don't use that. Well, I do. Every once in a blue moon it slips, and it's usually around my husband. And he turns around and looks at me and he says, Donna, you are not stupid. Stop. He says, you are the smartest woman I know. Oh, now you're laughing at me.
No. You're going to love this. I haven't shared this with you, Donna. But, going in the reverse on that, I thought, I'm going to tell myself that I'm a smart guy, a good guy, and I work hard at doing the right things. When you do that, and you're going to say it out loud, make sure you're alone or say it to yourself, because otherwise, Elvin will poke her head around the floor and look at me like, are you in there? Jim, you're a great guy. Jim, you do wonderful things. You go out of your way and you'll get some strange looks on that. They'll think you mentally made the big escape and you may be in orbit mentally around Jupiter.
So what you're saying is that when Evelyn looked at you, she thought, well, the biscuits look brown, but they're still kind of gooey in the middle. They just ain't baked all the way.
Well, see, she's never heard me say things like it. She's heard
Right.
me say, Grant, you moron, you idiot. You can be so stupid at times. But see, that negative thing subconsciously tears you down.
It does.
So I was going in the reverse and I was looking in the mirror and this is not an ego trip or anything like that, but it was kind of like, to tell my subconscious mind, I'm worthy,
Right.
and well, like I said, when you do that, make sure you're home alone if you're going to say it out loud. Because you will draw attention. Trust me on that.
I love it. I love it.
That's what I was laughing at, Donna.
I love it. Well, Jim, we are at the end of our show, but we are going to be back tomorrow.
Yes, we will be. Yes, we will be. And we're going to be back with some more good stories. And this whole week is dedicated about changing your mental vision, because that's critical. Because if you want to be successful, you've got to be able to change your mental vision and stop looking at anything in your life as being a problem, a blunder, a boulder in front of you or whatever. Don't try to go over the boulder. Just go around it. Ignore it. Let it go.
Right.
And as we always like to say, Donna, as we close every show, thank you so much for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, our show is just growing and we're both very honored. We want to personally thank you folks out there in TV land, or if you're watching us on a cell phone, big screen TV or wherever, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And our commitment to you is to try to continue to provide good quality programming for you or someone that can benefit from our messages. Be sure and love yourself first, then you can love others. And as Donna likes to say, make sure you give yourself grace. We'll be back tomorrow. We hope you have a wonderful night or whenever you see this. Most importantly, we hope you can lie down when you go to bed and sleep with a satisfied mind. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Folks.